Good afternoon, guys. If you guys have been struggling to figure out what to make for lunch or for dinner, you're just not as inspired as you would like to be to make delicious food, then I have the recipe for you. As usual, I got you. Today I'll be showing you how to make these creamy chickpea curry bombs, and trust me, as the name calls it, they are bomb. They're very delicious. But you can use whatever protein of choice you want. I'm using chickpeas. You can use chicken if you eat chicken. You can use tofu if you love tofu. Anyways, without further ado, let's get started. You need 1 onion and 3 chilies, 3 small chilies or 2 large ones. And your spices you'll be including are 1 teaspoon of cumin seeds, 1 teaspoon of rosemary, 1 teaspoon of mustard seeds, and 1 teaspoon of white pepper. Give that a mix and just leave that on its own so that the spices can temper and the onions can become nice and translucent. Just a note, you guys don't have to cook your food with oil. Just by the way, I am not cooking my food with oil here, as you can see, because it's not by force. But instead I am using water to help deglaze the pan so that the onions can caramelize nicely and it can just become nice and brown and delicious, and the juices can just go into our sauce as a base. And then after about 5 minutes of doing this, I added about a pinch of salt. This is a very generous pinch, just by the way. You want to ensure you salt your food quite well, and you don't have to worry about adding too much because we are going to salt our food in stages. After that, after your onions and your spices have cooked for about 7 minutes, we're going to add in this brand of Mediterranean style tomatoes, and what that means is that it includes some herbs, aubergine, onions, tomatoes, garlic. It's just really delicious. Tomato paste, and the brand that I'm using is the Woolies one. Otherwise, a normal tomato tin can work, and you don't need all the other extra things. I just wanted a quick way to add some veggies. And then after 5 minutes of cooking that, you're going to add in some water, mix it around, and then close for the tomatoes to cook. After about 10 minutes of the tomatoes cooking away, you're going to add in 1/3 of the can of chickpeas. These chickpeas have been rinsed and drained. I'm not adding in the water because it is salted and I didn't want to miscalculate how much salt I added in my food. Otherwise, if it doesn't matter, just taste, live your life, man. Anyway, since I wasn't using all these chickpeas for this recipe, remember I did use some of the chickpeas for my baked sweet potato to stuff them with. So I reserved half of it and I added in a tablespoon of nutritional yeast for that really creamy, cheesy flavor, and as well as 2 tablespoons of coconut cream to help it thicken and be nice and creamy. Otherwise, you can also add a tablespoon of cremora as well if you want. And now we're gonna make our 2-ingredient dough, and to make that you'll be using self-rising flour. So you'll be adding 2 cups of that, as well as 1 teaspoon of salt, and finally 1 cup of yogurt. I'm using soy yogurt for obvious reasons. If you don't need to use soy yogurt, you can use ordinary yogurt, and if you don't have yogurt at all, you can also use milk, except it won't be 1 cup this time. You will actually be adding in half a cup because you don't want it to be too wet. You're still trying to make a pretty dry dough. Then you're going to divide your 1 ball that you're going to knead it into 4 pieces and roll them out into a nice little disc so that you can spoon in your delicious creamy chickpea curry. And then for those of you that are using chicken, then it would be creamy chicken curry instead. Anywho, now I'm just filling my rolled out dough with my creamy chickpeas. So delicious, guys. Just ensure you don't fill it too much because you want it to close as well. And then you're going to pinch the top and then use that part that's pinched as your bottom so that it doesn't show. I also additionally used a fork to help it seal better, just because I thought it would help. and then I put it on its back side so that that part that I use the fork with doesn't show. And after that, I brushed it with some, or rather let me say rubbed it with some garlic butter. How I made that is by taking a tablespoon of butter and adding in my garlic powder and some herbs to make it look pretty and also to make it tastier. And then I put it in the oven for 20 to 25 minutes until it looks like this. These creamy chickpea curry bombs were so delicious and also so easy to make. As you guys saw, I just made the dough using 2 ingredients. I didn't even have to wait for it to rise or anything, and the kneading didn't take that long. It was 5 minutes of kneading. Stuff it with your favorite curry or whatever filling, put it in the oven, and you're done. These are the type of meals I'm here for. I ended up having mine with a side of spaghetti and some sauce that I made from just sauteing mushrooms, tomatoes, leeks, and spices, and that was divine. Enjoy, guys. Make this for yourself.